Hello everyone, here's the second and I think the final Tonfa guide. So last time I talked about how you want to sustain a lot of pressure, and that is exactly what you should do, of course, but I haven't mentioned some of these other abilities and really talked about them in depth as opposed to really just emphasizing the playstyle of the weapon. So just a brief recap, very brief. Use Kanagi so you can cancel out of Tonfa techniques so that you can again turn your defense into your offense. This is huge. Let's talk about when to use some of these abilities. The Heavenly Chain you can pretty much use whenever you want. The vertical hitbox really does help in regards to Horn Break, which is great, and it's a lot of hits, which is awesome. But let's start talking about a little bit more nuanced things, specifically with abilities that might seem a little at odds. So Devastation is ultimately the big damage booster, and you may ask, why use Devastation over Shove? Well, Devastation is the damage booster. Like I said, you've got Tonfa guns, so you can explode things. If you are just a fan of rapidly destroying enemies' ki, then Shove and High Stance is something that I've worked with, and it's pretty effective. But for my sake, which is really for variety's sake, I put High Stance Devastation so I'm not at risk of being deflected. But yeah, it's definitely a very powerful hit. It is on the slow side, but let's just show the relative damage compared to everything else. So High Stance strong, not the most, but you got 2 hits from each of these. But then put in Devastation, especially with Tonfa gun, and you get a bit of an explosion. Right now I know the fire damage is distorting how much the person's taking, so it's definitely a really clean finisher, so use it as such. Crimson Lotus, which I have assigned to mid stance, more or less performs the same effect. It is a little faster though, especially with a double tap. But if again you don't like the recovery frames, you can just keep pulse to cancel, or really just Demon Dance, and so it can flow really nicely. Do that, and then you can engage with other attacks as you see fit. And honestly, being able to blow your opponents up is extra exquisite. And so is that. But okay, that's pretty much it when it comes to those moves. They have a decent amount of ki damage and break, but nothing major compared to the other abilities. But yeah, if you want a little bit more burst damage, Devastation with Tonfa gun and Crimson Lotus are pretty much your best bet, aside from Focus Strike. Now the thing with Focus Strike is simply that it's one of the rare cases in which you're pausing for a big damage boost. So to show you the damage boost for this, aside from just the usual knockback, which I know you've seen before, it's decent. 2,900. I mean, that's not that much on this character, but not too bad. Oh, come on. Come on. Roughly 3k, and then again, let me just show Devastation. Assuming I can hit with it. Pretty reasonable, and with Tonfa gun you can inflict fire, so that's pretty nice. Oh come on. Oh come on. Great demonstration. This is how you play Tonfa. You get exploded, you blow them up too. Yeah, it's pretty good, especially if you stack a bunch of fire accumulation, which my character hasn't, and keep in mind the dojo stuff is not necessarily an accurate representation of what you're going to experience, but if you are a big fan of fire, then you can, say, put an Arcana of fire on this stuff, and I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have for Crimson Lotus, but let's just see, I'm curious. I mean, it's not too bad on Fire Tonfa. So if you want to do like a Fire Tonfa based build, go for it. It can help. Just a build idea, I guess. So damage over time makes sense with Tonfa, because you're doing sustained attacks, so try that out. Maybe you'll like it, I don't know. I don't really particularly care too much about that. Let's continue talking about other abilities. So, again, Heavenly Chain, Crimson Lotus, Devastation, and Shove. It's really just a matter of preference. But let's talk about the differences between Mountain Breaker and Urgency. I'll show them a bit more in action, and some kind of useful things that you can do. Most of the time I used to play with Urgency. Urgency is definitely pretty fun. But Mountain Breaker has the ability to hop over things, which is obvious in hindsight, but is underused, and you can bridge the gap. And especially after a Demon Dash, it can feel pretty awesome. So one thing I like to use, since I'm a big fan of Aberrant Soldier Soul Core, I might like to do that to a hop. Provided he didn't go back, it would have hit nicely. Aw, it didn't work there. That's okay. You will have a bit of difficulty landing the hop, in my opinion. But with a little positioning, it can be pretty rad. So if you're not going to use the Aberrant Soldier Soul Core like I do, which if you don't know, and this is, I know, outside of the scope of Tonfa, it kind of pulls you back a little bit. And so if you use that opportunity, the extra distance that you pull back, you can use that as an opportunity to leap forward. So because urgency normally kind of will just like hop over your opponents, which is cool, but you know, you actually want it to hit, opposed to not getting hit. Okay, dude, I'm gonna get you out of key, and then I'll try to demonstrate that. Get out of key, dude. I should just have done a shove. Thank you. So right here, I whiff, right? And that feels really bad to whiff that. That was fun. I just Mario jumped him. Okay, I should really just do shove. So yeah, if you're up close, you have a great chance of whiffing it, which is why I'm advising you to create some distance and then make sure you're at some distance in the way, not too close, obviously not too far, and then use Mountain Breaker to make it connect. Because that was one of the biggest difficulties I had, which was simply just, hey, I am leapfrogging over opponents, and yeah, that's fun, but I actually want my hit to connect. So bear that in mind as we move on to the next ability, Urgency. So Urgency is very much a close hitting ability, and it seems a little weird. You might think, hey, seems like a short range, but it does a decent amount of key and break damage as well. And as you can see, I can kind of sequence it reasonably. And you can Demon Dance cancel, Demon Dance cancel it very frequently. A cool little 3-hitter combo that I like to work with it is as follows. So I'll use Urgency into a Tiger Bite, or I'll try to do that, do a Tiger Bite, a double kick, and just kind of cycle in between them. And you can see my key levels are really good. My ability to get hit is not, is still on fire because I'm still getting hit. But yeah, you can cycle between these abilities, and now with the addition of moves like Demon Dash and Demon Fang, you have so many different options to keep enemies pressured as well. Can I not? So it just adds, it's just like 3 little abilities you can sequence in between, and it's pretty effective, particularly against humans. I'll showcase it on a human, because this is not a human, by the way, in case you didn't know. Jeez, my sarcasm is off the walls today. But against a human, it's just another cool, like, 3-hit combo that I've used. I actually used this in the Tonfa Dojo mission, and it was pretty handy. Just pressure there, and then I go for Urgency when I can. Just cycle in between the abilities, not even caring if I hit or miss. So yeah, try that out for size. But Urgency is very much a quick hitter. And it seems like it might be the same thing as Focus Strike, but again, Focus Strike is very different. Focus Strike is very much a damage-based ability with some knockback, whereas Urgency is a bit more reasonable when it comes to the blocking department for enemies. So try that out. I'm sure you'll like it. As you can see, just those 3 moves are already doing a pretty good job. Yeah, try that out for size. I used it a lot. That's why I've been messing with Mountain Breaker. Let's talk about Wild Lions. Now, unfortunately, you don't have many options when it comes to the L1 square ability for Tonfa. But what you can do is, since that you have Wild Lions, you may want to try using different Arcanas. So I'm going to try Arcana of Water in high stance. Let's try Arcana of Lightning. And then what's another element I can put on here? Let's see. What's Serpents? Poison? Sure. Do I want Poison? I don't know. Just sure. Sure, let's try Poison. So you can cycle through elements pretty quickly. You can have different effects. It can be pretty cool. They got poison damage. And this is just the ability by itself. I'm not talking about the whole Demon Dance chaining. So, there are a lot of hits. And it can be pretty ridiculous. Alright, let's just leave him alone. Oh, he died. Yeah, it is a lot of hits, so try that out. I know I talked about before how you can use it to Demon Dance chain and stuff, so you can try that. Wild Lions, because it has a very long animation, is very suitable for that. But outside of that, because you do have a lot of hits and a lot of motion, you can actually usually track some enemies if they're kind of circling you. Kind of. Not the best for it, but not too bad either. And if you build, say, damage over time, it can be pretty handy too. Alright, I'm just curious, how much damage is this gonna do? I'm just gonna leave him. Look at all that damage over time. Just leave him be. I'm not even doing anything and he's just dying. Cool, huh? So definitely experiment with damage over time capabilities alongside everything else. Oh yeah, and what's nice with Poison is that Poison is something that doesn't really fuel into the typical elements, so you can just maintain. Once you have Poison up, you can just maintain it, and confusion can go away, but Poison will still remain. So that's pretty cool. So definitely something to consider when it comes to Wild Lions. And of course, you have also many different things. So feel free to just, at the very least, experiment with your choices when it comes to Wild Lions. Elemental application is very popular, but you do got many choices when it comes to, hey, maybe I want one to give me more anima, or if you wanted to, I guess, give you health or something, you can just feel free to mess around with it. It's really just up to your preference. I personally don't use these custom active skills too much, but maybe you'll like to use them with Wild Lions because it's a perfect candidate for just that. Next up, Shove. I mean, you can see I have different choices here. Shove, Sweeping Kick, or Devastation. Mid-stance Shove just seems the most natural to me, and Shove is very much just about key damage, which is why I actually put Masterful Slice on to get even more key damage, but you can put it on whatever other key damage things you may like, and you'll be okay, and that's totally fine. Next, let's talk about Tiger Bite. Tiger Bite is a really awesome ability. Tiger Bite actually has quite a lot of reach. I mean, here. Let's go back to this whole thing to show you how to measure it. So if I'm starting from here, how much distance will I go for with Tiger Bite? Quite a few spaces. What is that? How many? If we go from here, if I'm in this space, how many spaces? Looks like nearly 3. So 1, 2, and then 3. So that's quite a bit of distance that you can go for. And because of the nature of his hitbox, there are some instances you'll hit some enemies' horns, but in all honesty, it's a really good gap closer for a weapon that is suited for short range combat or close combat. So you can't be too far away like you can with, say, Mountain Breaker, but yeah, think of the range you want to be at almost like spear range if you are far away. But in all honesty, it's a really good pressure move, and as you can see, the stun, the brief hit stun, is enough for you to keep your attacks going. So that's why I like to do things like Tiger Bite into Demon Dash. It's really handy, and it's like a staple of Tonfa play, straight up. Now, speaking of moves that are, I guess, staple, there is Thousand Tongues, which unfortunately conflicts with this. I would have loved if Thousand Tongues was instead on mid stance, L1 square, but it does conflict with Tiger Bite, and I don't know of I don't know of anybody who really uses Thousand Tongues. The timing for it is pretty much the same as, I want to say, Timely Guard timing. And it does work reasonably well against humans. And so it's kind of cool in that respect. But the key pulse window, even on success, is kind of late. I mean, it's kind of neat, don't get me wrong. It's a cool option, but the key pulse window is kind of late. Alright, let's get you out. But the real problem is, and the one reason I actually dislike it, is simply because it doesn't function against yokai. I've never seen a successful case. I'm going to try the same input, and I'm just not going to have luck. Let me try it again. That's not a good opportunity. Come on. It'll just fail. You just won't be able to do anything. I would have been thrilled if it worked even somewhat against yokai, even if it involved key loss. But yeah, Thousand Tongues only works against humans, and it can sometimes even miss. While you can get the parry off, it can sometimes the counterattack can just straight up whiff. And so that'll feel bad. So you're most likely almost always gonna go for impenetrability Dragon Slayer. You can't even demon dash out of it. So you gotta kind of have to wait. So I don't think you'll particularly like Thousand Tongues, but feel free to try it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure, like almost every person I see who plays a Tonfa, you will be using Tiger Bite. What's next? I believe I already talked about Storm of Strikes. And then Sweeping Kick is very much just for key damage. Pretty sure I mentioned this last time. There are actually 2 hits of it. And let me show you which hit actually does more key damage. So, first hit actually did a pretty good amount. So really, if you can nail the first hit, you're in good shape. But here, use that half key right now. So let's just show first hit key damage. That's not what I had in mind. Oh, I missed, but I actually got the second hit. The first hit of the kick is where the bulk of the key damage occurs. So you don't actually really need to go for the second hit if you don't want to. But of course, I like going for moves in their entirety, just cause it's fun that way for me. So that's first hit, good amount of key damage. Okay, let's do both hits. So yeah. Key damage ability, pretty rad for that purpose. And the bulk of it, the key damage, comes from the first sweep. But extra hits are cool, and that's what Tonfa's about. So don't sleep on that either. And then, what else is left? I mean, there's a Sacred Bird ability, so I won't talk about that. But in general, that is pretty much it when it comes to moves. One last thing I want to talk about when it comes to Tonfa, aside from the whole sustained pressure stuff, is Demon Dance yet again. So I don't think I mentioned this last time. I know I talked about how after a Demon Dance you can flux to and whatnot. Actually, did I? I think I said... Okay, so here's a couple things you can do. I just need to make sure I talked about this. I know I talked about Demon Dash, Flux 2 cancel, right? You can use Flux 2 to cancel some of the animation time. Demon Dash, but you can also do this for Demon Dance as well. So on Key Pulse now you have several options. You can Demon Dance, right? Which is a dodge in place. You can Demon Dance, but you can Flux 2 after it as well. And still get your key back, as you see. So pay attention to my key bar right now. I'm going to try to just rapidly deplete it. Demon Dance, I said that weirdly. Demon Dance, and then Flux 2 after. You can do it immediately to cancel it. Or you can wait, and then do Flux 2 right after. You can Demon Dash, and then Flux 2 after, or just wait. Or now you can sequence that into Demon Dance, or you can sequence that into, if I could do it right, into Demon Fang. You got a couple of choices. But one thing I would highly recommend that you start getting used to is after a demon dash, try to do flux to after to cancel stuff, and then what you can do right afterwards is sequence a guard ability so you can play even faster. So for example, let's say I do Tiger Bite into Demon Dash, that'll be step 1. The Tiger Bite into Demon Dash, then let's flux to after, which I gotta be quicker about. Then you can hold guard, and then say do something like double kick, which is pretty much just for key damage. Alright, or you can do a mountain breaker right afterwards. So let's try that out on a human. I'll try to be a little faster with how I incorporate things. Not bad, huh? Or what I can do, let's, instead of trying to do double kick, I'm gonna instead do Storm of Strikes and take advantage of the brief moments that he is off balance. Alright, Tiger Bite. Oh, I screwed that up. Tiger Bite, Demon Dash, Flux 2 into Storm of Strikes. Oh look, by the way. Oh, look at that perfect distance. Wasn't that nice? So let me demonstrate that again. And this is just to give you ideas for some combos when it comes to Tonfa. Because there is a lot you can do. Pretty neat. So try that out. Tonfa is also one of those weapons that would really benefit from you learning the zero key combo because it just makes Tonfa shine even more. Some other weapons don't really need it, but Tonfa doesn't need it. But you have so many tools to basically keep enemies at zero key over and over and over again that it almost behoove you to learn it. So I guess let me try to give you a couple. I know I've talked about what the zero key combo is. Just give you simple ones for now. And then if you want to study some, I would recommend you take a look at Last to Load's Tonfa exhibition. So here's one. Just shove. You just do that. Very boring, but it works. The 2 mid stance quicks. You can just keep that going. What's another one? Honestly, you can just use like Heavenly Chain over and over and over again, and that'll work too. Alright, come on. Alright. If you're not satisfied, you can always just use one of the other things. Look how dumb that is. Keep them at zero key. So yeah, try that out. I don't think there's anything else I can think of when it comes to Tonfa. There is one thing I can mention, but it's so, I guess, niche, and I guess I'll talk about it. So, one thing you can do with Demon Dance is, because it is a dodge on Key Pulse, what you can do is you can do Demon Dance and then Flux 2, and if your timing is right, not only will you cancel the animation time, but because the game's registering you as Demon Dancing, you can straight up avoid certain things with the Flux 2 involved. It is very tricky. I'll have to link a video that showcases that, but it's like, I've rarely used it, and I haven't been fortunate enough to do so. But in all honesty, since this is an Adept lesson, my advice would be try working on the Kanagi stuff, and Wild Lions into Kanagi will be more than enough for you to worry about. You can worry about the perfect Demon Dance stuff a bit later. But I'll link that for those of you who are a bit more interested in that, so you can get more out of your Tonfa play. Tonfa doesn't have the most variety, but you're going to pummel your opponents to bits. So let's just finish it up by killing both of these enemies with stuff that we've learned so that you can demolish your opponents. Just feel great about doing it. Aw, I missed. But it won't matter, he's dead. And then let's just do it on a Yoki, because that seems to be my running theme these days. Oh, that's cute. Alright, guess what? Nice horn, bud. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh. Oh, nice try. Oh, there is actually one thing I forgot. Now that I'm doing this. That's actually the running attacks. Here, I can't believe I forgot this. I'll mention this. I've talked about the evasion attacks and how you may want to sequence certain things from there. I remember I talked about that in the last video. Running attacks are kind of wonky. I hardly use them. But here's the running attacks. It's kind of weird. You can see how similar they look to standard attacks. I almost never use them. But I guess if you're running, go for it. They're okay. Maybe the neatest one is the low stance one, because it is the last part of the strong attacks, so maybe it'll be pretty cool. It does a decent amount of key damage, but it's nothing at home to write about. So I guess I'll try to showcase them against the Yoki, but they are a little wonky. They ain't bad. Don't get me wrong, they ain't bad, but they're nothing like huge. At least you can mix in things like a demon dash now, so it won't feel as awkward. But I tend to almost exclusively use the evasion attacks. But fortunately with demon dash you can extend them a little bit. But they are kind of weird. It's almost like, yo, the dodge attacks seem so much better. And that's been my experience with Tonfa anyway. Alright, let's blow you up. And then, because Tonfas are fun, let's roar. So yeah, in any case, thank you guys for watching. I think that's all I've got for the Tonfa. Just a brief reminder, sustained pressure is the key to playing this weapon. Zero key combos is another aspect of it. And if you incorporate those two, alongside potential build options to maximize, let's say, fire damage or just damage over time, you'll be in really good shape and kick serious butt. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys next time.